Someone's getting sleepy.
I'm so tired, bro.
So sleepy.
I'm so sleepy.
Oh my gosh, I almost lost it in between.
Bro, you get 2 hours of sleep 8 nights in a row. See what happens to you.
You're not even paying attention.
I am. Welcome to Marthoma Effect, a Syro podcast that explores different topics of the Catholic faith and the Syro-Malabar Church from its faithful in the Melbourne Eparchy. I'm your host, Aakash, and with me I have Tonia on a new episode on our Mar Walah Series. So for those that don't recognize her, Tonia has been on our podcast before, doing an episode with Jess and Jacob about India mission, but this time we've got Tonia on her own. And so Tonia, why don't you start off by quickly, once again, reintroducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Tonia, and I was 2024's full-time missionary, full-time Sliha de Mishiha. It was a really blessed experience, but I guess we'll go more into that now, so yeah.
Exactly. So now that you're approaching the end of your mission year, so you started February 2024?
Yeah.
And now it's February 2025. We've just finished Unite, the biggest Syro-Malabar youth conference that we're going to have this year almost. And now this is the end of your mission year. So we really brought you on the podcast today to talk more about your mission year experiences. So first off, I guess one thing that would interest a lot of people is what led you to to giving yourself to a 1-year mission commitment?
Okay, I guess to put it simply, I'd say I was not satisfied with my life before mission. Not like, in a way, like I didn't have enough or anything like that, because mission year I had nothing as well. But it was more like I wasn't happy with what I was doing with my work. Like it was my first year of working full-time as well, and it was a bit of a struggle. And I know like first year going from uni to full-time work can be tough. So I was a bit lenient with myself initially. When I first started thinking about mission, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just trying to escape from doing work or whatever. But then, a lot of other things came to me, and like other inspirations, I guess, and people kept randomly bringing up mission. And then eventually, when I said yes, like I did really like feel a sense of peace when I thought about doing mission, no matter like what my other worries or concerns were. And so I said yes, because I just wanted to. Another thing, I know it's very really cliche, but that aspect of giving back what I got, because I've said it a couple of times before as well, but I feel like I gained a lot, and I became who I am because of growing up in Parli and with SMYM and things like that. So this was the way that like all the doors opened up for me at the right time so that I could do mission, and this is the way that I could give back. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, praise God. So what were you doing for work before doing mission?
I was an orthoptist.
Which is?
It's an eye specialist, not doctor, eye therapist. I like to say physio for the eyes. Yeah. Nice.
Okay. I mean, obviously taking a 1-year mission commitment isn't easy, especially when you come from, especially in our background, when you come from a family where migrant parents, they do value a lot of financial security or family stability. How did your parents or your family take the desire or the decision to want to do a 1-year mission commitment?
I can say for sure at the start, no one was really, I wouldn't say they weren't happy about it. Like there was no like straight up no from them, but there was a bit of discouragement, not just like immediate family, but even like some extended family, and like even like Parli people, church community, like I'm the eldest in my family, and because I had just started working, I had like a stable job, and I finished my uni and stuff. they all wanted me to move on to the next thing, which I did want to, but I didn't think I was, ready at the time. There was a lot of people that were like, it's all good, well and good that you're doing this, but why do you have to do it full time? Like, can't you keep your job and then do it when you're on break or take annual leave or stuff like that? But eventually they all got on board. I mean, I had my doubts throughout the whole year, but I got my answers when I needed, and I got like the sense of peace that I mentioned earlier as well. Like, even though I was worried about a lot of stuff, even like every time I just thought about it, like the year is going to be fine and everything is going to be okay after, because a lot of people thought I was, putting my life on pause. Like, I mentioned this at the gala dinner. I don't know if it's worth saying it now, but like many people, because all my friends around my age, they were, getting married, getting their jobs, getting their life sorted, I guess, as you'd say. And then I decided to like quit my job and then just, go on a year. And everyone's like, what are you going to do for the whole year? Like, because people also think mission is like going to like poor people or like serving in that sort of way. So this type of mission, like, people had not even heard of. So everyone was a bit like, they were questioning my decision quite a bit, but we got there. We convinced them in the end.
I reckon there's people who probably think, because like you said, this is a new type of mission, like one we don't see. It's probably people who thought you were going to a convent, right?
Oh, 100%. At one point, I think I even like doubted myself, because I had thought, I just have like, I had thought that like I was like discerned marriage and like I was called to be a mother and everything. But then actually, like, kind of going back a little bit, one of the other reasons why I decided to do mission was because throughout that first year of working full time, I think my faith, like my spiritual life, kind of dropped, because I used to be able to go to mass or kurbana like a couple of times a week when I was studying, almost every day, and like family prayer, that was consistent because you can't really get out of it. But
I suppose 1 year mission is one way to get out of it.
Yeah, being away from the family. Yeah, definitely. I think, I kind of forgot some of the prayers that we said as a family when I went back home. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. What were we talking about before? Oh yes, faith and spiritual life. So because I realized like my spiritual life was kind of going a bit dry, I was like, I want to really be able to spend more time with God, because my schedule with work as well was really early in the morning. Like, I'd wake up at 5 and then I'd come back from work around like 5, 6, maybe even 7 p.m. So it was really tight. And I wasn't able to go to mass or kurbana or anything as often as I wanted to. So then I was like, okay, I think I want to spend more time with God. And then when I started making that decision, and when I started thinking along those lines, at one point I was like, wait, am I telling myself that I want to join a convent? Because there you'd be praying almost like all the time and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people, like, we did come out of that as well. Like, we did discern out of the convent, but again, always got to be open to whenever God calls. But yeah, lots of people, even after I finished mission, and I was telling people about the next thing that I was going into, people were like, and stuff. Like, no one can comprehend. Like, one of the biggest things that I think I faced at the start was like, people don't understand that you can love God and then take on like a family life as well, and like love your family or love a husband or a wife not in the same way you love God, but to that extent. Like, people think that if you love God so much, then you're only going to go one direction. But that's not it.
I agree that's a culture we need to change. And I can affirm the convent or the religious life thing. For those that don't know, so 2024 we had Tonia as a full-time sliha, and then in true nature of fruitful and multiply, we've had Tonia. Now we have 3 full-time missionaries. We have Anne Steve Shaju from Holsworthy, that's right. Oops,
Yep.
Sina from
Auckland, New Zealand.
Sina's from Auckland, and myself from Adelaide Central. So us three are the 2025 full-time Slihas, and yes, I was telling Anne Steve as well. Anne Steve and I were both saying the amount of people that half my parish I think still thinks I'm joining seminary. And again, same thing like you said, it's a culture that we need to change, that, you know, holiness isn't just for the religious. It's also for people who take the vocation of family life. They just look different.
Yeah.
But it's the same standard of holiness. So that's good. And yeah, it's good to hear that, well, not good to hear, but it's comforting to hear that it was tough to get your family on board, because I know there's a lot, myself included, a lot of the hurdles we've had to take this decision was overcoming family.
Yeah.
And so it's good to hear that it's not just a me thing, but it's something that everyone struggles with. So you've come to the end of your mission year, you've done a full year. Let's talk about like the best parts of the mission. Like what's the kind of impact that you saw the Sliha de Mishiha mission had?
Okay, I guess one of the biggest impacts that I've seen is people actually getting a bit more involved in parish life. So especially after, I think we might have mentioned it in a couple of podcasts, the 72, the Sliha de Mishiha formation program, especially after that, but even people that didn't attend that, like once like a team of us Slihas have gone to a parish or a mission to do a program there, I have noticed, or like many people have come back to me and said, you know, I started learning the guitar, or I started learning to do this and that. And for Parli, I think a lot of people have learned that like being involved in your parish can be fun, and it grows your skills at the same time. But another big highlight I would say was India mission, and that had an impact not just on them. You know, I know like Soranjatan called it the reverse mission, because before it was like, you know, missionaries from India coming out here and like coming to our community to reach us, but we were going backwards. But I think reverse mission also makes sense, because when we went there, we were also impacted and we learned a lot at the same time with the communities that we spent time in and everything. Like we learned so much, and it was very much a step out of the comfort zone for us and for them, because there was just a bunch of, like, we looked a lot like them. It was in Odisha, but so we didn't speak the same language. So there was a lot of adjusting and things to get used to, but it was, yeah, massive blessing. One of my favorite parts, I'd say.
Praise God. And yeah, and having come to a lot of the missions with you to help out, I can see, especially because when we talk to the leaders there after the missions, we can see that whenever the Sliha de Mishiha team does, you know, go to a parish, we are seeing an increased level of parish involvement or spirituality in that parish. So it's good to see. So then, having travelled to like all the parishes and missions in our Eparchy list, and even a bit in India, like share something that's like shocked you, or, you know, even something you observed that you found quite interesting, if there is anything like that.
I think I did have something earlier. Something that shocked me. So I went to most of the parishes and missions, maybe not all of them, but something I think that's consistent. I wouldn't say it's shocking, because I know like even my parish can be like that sometimes. So I'm kind of used to it, but at the same time it does, you know, I guess I could say hurt a little bit, is just how much people tend to prioritize other things rather than coming. So there is the good side of us Sliha, the programs and stuff, like we said before, like people tend to get a little bit more involved after, but there is still a very like large group of people that are reluctant to do that, and there's people that are reluctant to come to these events in the first place because, you know, they have work or like part-time jobs or study, which is all important. Another big thing is like the amount of people that like work on Sundays and things like that. Not to be controversial or anything, because there are exceptions to working on Sundays, but like people can also make exceptions to come get involved in the parish on Sundays too. But I think a lot of people just don't consider that
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, definitely I agree with that, you know. And I suppose one of the other things I've noticed as well, having done missions, is how similar like each community actually is. Like you think that, okay, you know, in our Eparchy, a small time mission would be like, oh, they're Melbourne or they're a big city. But realistically, their kids are struggling with the same things. Their youth are struggling with a lot of the same things, parents alike. So that's also a nice, interesting input. That's like, okay, so the impactful part, or like the best parts, that's how the communities that we visited, that you visited, benefited. But what about the flip side? What's the personal change or the personal growth you saw by taking a 1-year mission commitment?
Biggest change I saw in myself is, I think, realizing that it's the Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like, I am braver than I thought I was, or like I can adjust to more than I thought I could. You know, I like to say sometimes that, like, well, I don't like to say it, but I am a bit of a clean freak, or like I prefer things on the cleaner side. And like I traveled so much last year, I can't be picky about the place that I'm staying at and things like that. And like even adjusting to like living out of a suitcase with the amount of travel, like there would be times when I wouldn't go home for like a few months, and I don't have my own place to like take my clothes out. Like there were houses where I stayed long term where I had that sort of space, but usually I'd be traveling somewhere and then taking the petty and moving to the next place, figuring out where I'm gonna do my laundry, like is it at a laundromat somewhere in that place, or like just little things like that. So it definitely, I think, made me stronger in a way. Like I learned that I can cope with a lot more than I think, and it might be a thing like because of the pressure that you're put under as well. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest changes. And then there was also the side of like my growth in ministry and like the skills. Like for example, like I play guitar. That's my main thing and like along with singing as well. But the way I played guitar when I started off mission year to the way I ended, not that I'm, you know, an expert or anything now, but like the confidence has definitely increased throughout the year as well. So definitely had a lot of benefits for me too. Yeah,
the increased confidence is definitely something that we all noticed. Like your first mission was Adelaide, right? We did the Seek retreat, and you did a first session on Mother Mary. And I remember your knees like quivering the whole time, or your voice shaking, and like starting off the session being like, I'm so sorry guys, this is my first session. And then to the point where you're at the end and no apology at the beginning. Which is better, which is good. It just shows the growth that, you know, jumping into the deep end like this can give. Right? So that's the good parts of the mission, Tonia. Let's jump on the other side, the hard parts. Obviously taking a 1-year commitment to do mission is not easy, and anyone who wants to take it up should be aware of what the hard parts of it are, what the sacrifices are. So what kind of things did you have to give up to take the mission in the beginning? Okay,
well, my job, firstly. I wouldn't be able to take the year if I was still working full-time. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I had to give up. Obviously, it makes sense. But then in order to do the mission year, and I had to come to Melbourne for that, because, you know, this is like everything is basically, or at least because initially I wanted to stay at home and then only fly out when needed. But there was a lot to do in Melbourne as well, because when we're not doing like mission, there's a lot of like background admin kind of stuff to do as well. And so that takes leaving your family behind. And I always thought I was like, I mean, I don't usually get homesick like that. I'm okay with being away from home. But at one point throughout the year, like some points it does get to you. It did get to me. And then like giving up what you're used to, I guess, like really getting out of that comfort zone. Because like I used to be a really big like snacker when I was at home. I'd like go check the pantry every 5 minutes to see if something new appeared in there for me to eat. And then like not having that freedom, I guess, even though, you know, the people that I stayed with have, like, they always tell me just make yourself at home, you can eat whatever you want to do. But like, even if they say that, you still kind of hold back a little bit. So there's, getting used to, just giving up the things that you're comfortable with, the things that you want or you usually live with, and living with other people as well. But that's on a bit more into the second half of the question.
So then, what kind of struggles then did you, so that's like the kind of things you had to give up with going into the mission. Actually, on top of that, did you ever, actually this might jump into the next part actually more so, what are the kind of struggles you did deal with then as you were doing the mission?
Well, definitely there was health struggles. That was one of the biggest things, especially in the first half of my mission year, because like right before after I said yes to mission, and then right before moving away from home, like I found out that there was something that I needed to have a surgery for, and it caused a lot of issues. That also really affected like my parents' decision, like not their decision, but the way they thought like mission year was gonna go for me, and they didn't want me to be away from home for too much because like it was a bit risky. So yeah, I was dealing with that throughout the whole, pretty much until August. August I did end up having the surgery, but before that it was just, it was a mess, but you know, it still worked out in the end. Like I'm here now. So health struggles, definitely. I mentioned this to a lot of people as well, but like someone told me that, you know, when you're trying to go out there and like proclaim the word or serve God and bring other people closer to God, the devil's going to try and attack you even more, because you're the threat at that point. So definitely that was a big struggle. The other things that I had to like get used to on mission, I guess it's like small stuff, but like I'm an introvert, and like especially because I was one missionary, like a mission house at that point is not really worth it. And I was also traveling a lot as well, so I wouldn't be in one place for long. So getting used to living with other people, but like figuring out how their schedules work, and like trying to find time to do your own thing while also like be involved with them, and you know, not just be like treat the house like a hotel or things like that. And talking to them, like as an introvert, that was struggle. Like I cannot keep a conversation going for my life. Like I'll be like, yep, and I just keep nodding for a bit. So like that was fun. But yeah, I mentioned the living out of the suitcase thing. Like there was one point where I hadn't gone home for a while, and I was with Sonjatan's family, and the girls were like, do you have anything we haven't seen yet, like about my clothes? Because I was wearing the same thing again and again, and I didn't get to go home and bring the rest of my stuff. And I was just like, okay, that's a sign that I need to get home and get some new clothes. But that's the other thing. Like your wardrobe is limited. It's whatever you can fit in one petty. What else did I have to get used to? Just like different houses, different like houses with lots of kids crying in the middle of the night, or like just throwing a fit, and you have to kind of sit on the side and wait for it to be over, or houses with nobody in the house. There was even one mission where like the family literally just let us have the house, and they weren't even there. You were there, right?
I was not. I heard about it. You guys bragged about it. So.
Yes. But that was a blessing. But yeah, lots of little things as well to get used to. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff.
Did you not have like, because I know, it was there. It's there for me now. Like that FOMO of the stuff you're missing out at home, and especially with your friends as well.
Yeah. So there were two big things, I guess, were my friends' weddings, but I was able to make, because like, you know, everyone's very understanding. Like when there's big life events like that, they will let you go home. You're not like held hostage or anything like that. But there were definitely things like my family's birthdays that I missed out on. Like things that I would be there for every year. I think I missed not Holy Thursday, but like Ash Wednesday, or just like things that we normally do as a family. Like seeing my family go out to dinner and send me a photo in the family group chat and I'm not there and they rub it in my face. Like, yeah, definitely FOMO. Even like my local SMYM, like their usual connect nights and things, like their activities that I used to be there for, missing out on that kind of stuff definitely did hit. And then there was, especially with when I had the health struggles, I was still away from home until unless I had to go for a checkup. I even had to do some of the checkups at a new GP in Melbourne because I just couldn't keep going back and forth. But not being able to have, like, as supportive as everyone is, like I was with Sonia's family and like everyone around me is just like, tell us what you need, like we got it. But sometimes you just need your mum, and it's struggle. But
I get that. Like, because right now we're in the middle of our mission, and yes, 2 days ago was my sister's birthday, and then they threw a party at home, and I'm getting all the pictures, and I'm like, oh, I missed out. Or like the boys who are like, they're all getting into like playing Among Us online, and I can do group calls going, but I'm like, oh. I'm missing out on that. It's part of the sacrifice. It's the decision we take. But I think that's also what keeps you humble. I was talking, recently did an episode with Alan from Melbourne West, and we were talking about what are the qualities of an effective ministry, and from Jesus we take the template of the suffering servant, and so how we say suffering needs to be a key part of ministry to make it effective. And so they're all part of the sufferings that we take. I guess on top of that as well, I highly doubt for a full year you were like on spiritual highs the whole way, right? What do you do when you encounter spiritual dryness, knowing that your spiritual like highness, I guess, or your spirituality is what people you're here for an entire year, right? But when it's not there in you, how do you do the one thing you're asked to do?
So definitely I did feel that, and I think a lot of the times my spiritual highs were after like a really good adoration. But then at the same time, they say like when you're ministering, you're not doing it for you to have the good experience, it's for them to have the experience. But to keep, like, there are times when I felt like I was just, nothing was really exciting was happening in my life or like in the faith journey, but definitely keeping things consistent, like going to Kurbana or Mass daily, almost daily. I think I missed maybe like 5-6 days the whole year. But that, and like when I feel like nothing's going on, it's also an opportunity for me to try something new. So especially this year, I came across a lot of new novenas, new different types of prayers that I could implement, and like it helps when they like go for a certain amount of days because it makes sure you're consistent with that. And then the other thing, like you mentioned, like if we're not on the spiritual high, then how do we do what we're called to do? There have definitely been times when I felt like I'm not worthy to be standing here. One thing that helps with that is confession. Like once you've confessed, you feel a lot better. But at the end of the day, like I got reminded so many times that it's not really about me in that moment. It's about God and the people, like his people, and we're like the middle person, just the vessel for God to communicate through, or for them, like God to speak through us. But we still, that means we do have to be as like holy and perfect as possible. But at the same time, like God will still work where he needs to work. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well that's pretty reassuring to know that I don't want to say you have not backup plans, what is it? like kind of response actions ready for when you are spiritually low. Because even I'm feeling that now. It's like, what if I'm spiritually, like, at a spiritual pit? But the one thing I've been asked to do all year is to, kind of at least do what only being on a spiritual high is going to give me. But it's good to know that, there are ways that we can learn from and anyone else can learn from if they want to be an effective person in any kind of ministry. Okay, so let's kind of take a step away from the hard parts. Let's move on to kind of getting other people to now do mission, because obviously, this is the mission mandate is that we go and make disciples of all the nations. That we will make the disciples, and then those people will go and make disciples, right? Why? Give me a sales pitch, almost. Let's put it that way, like a short sales pitch of why someone should even consider, if not a 1 year, at least any sort of commitment to a mission.
I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this, but I would say you should do mission because, and whether it's a long-term or short-term mission, any sort of effort that you put in to serve God and His church, even if other people don't acknowledge it, even if it gets tough, even if you're struggling, God sees it, and it's not about getting something in return, but God will reward you. But at the same time, you will see the impact, and that in itself is like heartwarming and enough to encourage you to keep going. I don't know if that was a good enough sales pitch.
No, I mean,
business is not my thing. But
no, I mean, that's good. Everyone will have their own reasons to do it. Like, one thing I realized is the other day at the end of the Unite conference, Sojan Chatton did a presentation on Sliha the Mishya, and he invited all 3 of the new Slihas, full-time Slihas, up, and he said to explain in a sentence why we all took up the mission commitment, and everyone has their own reason. Like, one thing was neither of our 3 reasons were the same.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. It's almost better if everyone has a different reason, provided that you are convicted in that reason, and your own thing of not feeling like you were doing enough or feeling empty before you were convicted in that, and that's why you pushed through all the struggles that we mentioned before. But okay, we want as many people to do mission. The question is, and this is open-ended, either answer works, but do you think mission is for everyone?
Yes, I do. Because I think we are all called to mission and called to be missionaries and, spread the gospel, but in different ways. Just because I said mission is for everyone, it doesn't mean that everyone has to, take a full year or even, go out and do mission in any form. I said this, we talked about this in the India Mission podcast as well, but intercession is the backbone of mission. Like, if you can't go out and do it, pray for the people that are going out, because that's just as important. Like, we can't do anything without the prayer and that support backing us. So mission is for everyone, but it looks different. Just like how we say, like, every vocation is a call from God. Like, it's all, marriage is a vocation, religious life is a vocation. It all looks different, but you're serving God in a different way. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I agree. I think mission is for everyone, because I think I had it written here. Pope Francis in Evangelii Gaudium implores that the church is missionary by nature. That if you are a part of the Catholic Church, you automatically have a call to be part of mission and continue the mission of Christ. That's why we call it the mission mandate. So yes, I very much agree that it is for everyone. However, having observed you and Annie Kay, the previous missionary, any other people I've seen who are very effective in things like mission, it does require a high level of discipline or sacramental grace. Like you touched on, Holy Kurbana, you touched on confession, a deep conviction in your relationship with God, right? That's what keeps you going. So yes, it is for everyone, but I might also add, and this is just my personal opinion, that I think it is for everyone, but if you really want to persist through all the struggles that are going to come with it, it does take those kind of special qualities. It's not something you can easily jump into. So that's pretty good. And we definitely need more, is what I might add. Like, we need, and Steve and I, we spoke a lot before making the decision. Both of us told each other we were discerning, and both of us were like discussing different reasons. And we were saying that the world is very big on getting ahead in life, whether it's financially or in a relationship, or in your career and all that. But how many people are actually thinking about the mission of Christ, which is something that we really wanted to push. I know him and I are both very passionate about redefining what manhood means, or things like that, or realizing the fact that he's got a lot of interest in theology of the body. So he was also saying that, the world is in a place now where there is a lack of real relationships, and, the church needs more people like you or like us, or more people who can be like Ananias in the Bible, who will walk with, Paul, or walk with Saul, or whoever that person is in your life. And then we just create more and more disciples as we go. That's pretty good. I suppose one thing I will ask more as well is, you're finishing your mission year and we are starting our mission year, myself and Stephen Sina, and we made a bold claim at Unite the other day where we've got 3 now. We want to double it next year and make it 6. Either way, what do you think what is something you wish you did in your mission year that you think any future missionaries should kind of take up?
I think I was able to do it just a little bit, but I'm only one person, so I couldn't do it as much as I wanted to. But definitely just connecting a bit more with the people that we meet. So I mean, like, there are people that have reached out to me personally after, asking for prayers or asking for like different things, but I think I've always wanted, like, sometimes the connection only lasts like the 3 or 4 days that you're there for the event, and they will come to you about anything then. But I've always wanted to like follow up on that, and I haven't been able to. I know there are like safeguarding sort of restrictions because we do programs for like under 18s too. So obviously being cautious about that kind of stuff. Like, there are limits. But even with the older people, like the people that we just meet or like randomly that they all have their stories, and I always wanted to follow up or like see how they're going later, or make sure, because sometimes you need to like check up on them once or twice to like make sure they're on track, and it helps you personally as well. Like, it's not just me going and telling them like do this. Like, I've learned a lot from what they've like done in their life too. So yeah, definitely connecting and like reaching out to people is really important, I think, mission year.
And I think, like you said, we all know that stuff, like you've mentioned, is effective where it's connecting with people, but you also mentioned it's much harder to do with one person. So imagine if we had more people to do, which we have now. We're hoping more people do. And we are in a crisis of a lack of Christian missionaries. I think I spoke to you before. I have it written here somewhere when I looked into it a bit. So including Catholics, Protestants, or other denominations, in 2001, they estimated that there was about 1,135,000 Christian missionaries in the world, globally. In 2021, that number, like a study done by the same group, found that dropped to 430,000 Christian missionaries globally. So within a span of 20 years, the statistics show that you've gone from 1,135,000 Christian missionaries. 20 years later, 430,000 Christian missionaries. And so, yes, we are in an epidemic of needing more people. And the stuff that you were able to achieve in 1 year, the stuff that Annie Kay, the first missionary for our Eparchy, achieved in 1 year, shows that if we brought on 2 more people, which we have now, praise God, the amount of stuff we can get done is unparalleled. So that's almost the end, Tonia. You spoke a little bit about what the next step looks like. Why don't you share that?
Well, I guess I have to go backwards a little bit. So I did mention that, one of the hindering blocks to me doing mission was because people wanted me to move on to the next thing, which was getting married. And I did say that I wanted to do that too, but I wasn't ready at the time. So that was at the start of mission year. And like throughout the year, I actually had a lot of people tell me like, why are you doing this? Like you shouldn't, this is not your priority. You should be trying to settle down. Somebody even told me that my door to marriage is closed now that I've chosen to do mission. That definitely, I was like, okay, maybe this was a bad idea. Like I shouldn't have done this. But it was too late to back out, and I didn't want to back out because that sense of peace was still there. So in my head, I thought, okay, I'm going to do mission year. I probably will look to get married by the end of 2025 or start-ish of 2026, or even end of 2026. I was like, I'll just find someone in 2025.
Find someone.
Yeah, like, cause, yeah, well, I'm not going to say anything. It's going to be too controversial. But yeah, look, I had no luck. Okay, and then, so I was like, okay, you know what, I'll just put it on the back burner for now. This is not what I got out to do. This is not my priority this year, is mission. But there was a plot twist that I did not see coming.
What?
Can I say that there's someone behind the camera rolling their eyes at me? Because she was part of the plot twist. But basically, I guess, all I can say is that God 100% sees your heart and knows exactly what you want and will give it to you at the right time, even if you don't think that was the right time. Like a lot of the times we think that we want something earlier, like at this certain time, but God doesn't give it to us then. In my case, I thought the right time was later, but He gave it to me earlier. So if you haven't figured it out by now, there is someone.
What?
And we are getting married in August this year. Praise God, though. It was a crazy story. Like, plot twist is all I can say, because like I was not expecting it. No one saw it coming. But like the way that it all worked out has honestly been such a blessing. Like the way that even like there were hurdles like the whole time, even after like we knew like this is it, and then there was like the whole telling the family bit, but then that got solved really quickly, and then when would it be, and then that got solved really quickly, and it's just like everything God's just taken it, and it's like all under His control, and we just gotta like sit back and enjoy the ride, I guess.
Praise God. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, that's good to see, and hopefully no one listening gets misunderstood that mission does not mean you will get married. But there's a funny meme we have now that both our missionaries have finalized their vocation by the end of their missionary year. Annie K, 2021, joined the convent after, and you joined, you didn't join, sorry. You're about to join in the union of marriage after, so which means, God willing, you know, it'll get set for us in 1 year. No, that's not why we do it, obviously. But it's great to see that you know, even just the impact of your ministry is now going to affect the rest of your life almost, which is so good to see. And we're all praying for you, and we're all so proud of the efforts that you have taken for us. The pain, the suffering, the joys, the highs, the lows, all of it, you took it on with a smile on your face. Especially being alone, having two other missionaries with me has been such a blessing. So I can't imagine what it must have been like on your own. So really proud of you, Tonia, really happy. And with that brings us to the end. For anyone who is interested, we have another video with Tonia on India mission, where she explains her Mar Walah moment as well, and we hear more about what the specific India mission trip looked like. Also, if you visit our channel, we have so many other good content and videos, and a lot of upcoming interesting episodes, especially with our other missionaries coming up throughout the year. So with that, goodbye for now, not forever.